So we are talking about the movie Firstborn, and this is the first video I'm shooting in my new apartment. It's completely not decorated or anything yet, so excuse the temporary setting. I will have a permanent place set up at some point, but now I have zero furniture or anything here. But anyway, on to the movie. So we're talking about Firstborn, that stars Antonia Thomas. You may know her through, I would say mainly probably The Misfits, which was a British TV show, kind of a anti-hero, superhero type series that was pretty popular, at least for a time in the UK. And the story here, they focuses on her and her partner, basically, as they are expecting a child. And as the child kind of goes through the pregnancy and then through the birth and, basically growing up, they are menaced by a supernatural presence, basically. Unless they kind of find out there is some kind of malevolent force which has an interest in this young girl, and we learn it may be kind of genetic. The grandfather gets involved, and he's kind of like some kind of a cult guy, actually played by a familiar face if you were watching The Strain. And he happens to know this woman who almost runs like what turns out to be like a Professor X style a school for the young girl, although it's only her, basically training her to kind of use her gifts, so it's sold. So let's talk about the positives and negatives of Firstborn. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Antonia Thomas here. I thought did a pretty decent job in the lead role here as sort of the main sort of character. When I look back and think of her sort of time in The Misfits, definitely a very different character here, so it really does show her acting chops, and she does give a good job as a kind of like a caring mother, but also someone who maybe is at the kind of the end of their tether a little bit and maybe isn't quite prepared for motherhood. So I did think she did a good job of really portraying that on screen. So acting I thought was all pretty good here. Secondly, I thought there are some pretty decent use of effects here in the the actual, when we see the kind of the creature effects, and there are creature effects in it. Let me say, if you are a fan of the X-Files episode The Host with the Leech Man, you're going to like this movie for the special effects alone, let me tell you. And I have to say, this movie does one of the things that is quite rare in these sort of supernatural movies. These people believe pretty much straight away when stuff starts to happen. There's no kind of like the denial period where they try to kind of explain it away. They just go, no, pretty much there's some supernatural shit going on, so let's get it dealt with as best as we can. That also kind of leads me to a negative, because I feel that they're a little bit not all that shocked when these kind of things start to happen and accept it just a little bit too easily, I've got to say. So I really put that down to the writing, to be honest with you. The other thing with this film as well, I feel it is a little bit too slowly paced. When we come to the ending, that's why I feel the ending, without obviously spoiling anything, wasn't particularly strong, and it does definitely leave some sort of questions unanswered, and I feel it doesn't do a good enough job of it kind of like building the world, certainly in regards to these kind of the supernatural things. It just kind of goes, oh yeah, there's these things, and then because it doesn't really give you much more into it. So I felt we could have done it with a little bit more kind of exploring about what these kind of things are, what do they want, so we don't really know the motivations, all that kind of stuff. So it would have been a little bit better, jiggled around a little bit, I feel, and it would have helped maybe with the pacing of this film. As it stands at the moment, it's kind of a solidly acted movie. I wouldn't say it's spectacular anyway, but it's certainly more of a kind of a drama style film rather than a kind of out and out horror. There's not really much gore already really to talk about, but there are some reasonable effects here and some kind of spooky moments. But it just feels a little bit too drawn out to me. But overall, it wasn't a bad effort. I'll give this movie a 5.5 out of 10, so it's slightly above average for me. Have you seen Firstborn? What did you think of it? Just leave me comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.